Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I come to you having finished my second quest, The Rogue. I'm so excited. I managed to finish The Mage, which was my original quest, and if you've been following my videos you'll see I had put a TBR up for The Rogue. I have now finished The Rogue plus a side quest, and I will be moving on to my next one now, straight away, but I'll be putting the TBR up for my next quest tomorrow. So firstly, before we talk about the books that I read for this quest, let's just have an update on where I'm at with the stats. I currently am on level 5. I have 210 experience points and 358 health points. Some of these extra ones came along because I read some books with from marginalised authors, which gives me extra experience points. I'm really excited. I'm really loving this readathon. So let's just talk about the books that I read. So I didn't need to read a book with a one-word title for this because that had already been covered during the Mage quest. So I only had 4 books to cover for the actual quest, and then I read a 5th book to cover the free square on my side quests. So I briefly just want to mention one book because I'm not going to be talking about my thoughts on this one because I will be doing a live show with Caitlin on this one because it is one of our welcome books. The live show will have already gone up. It went up on Saturday, so if you want to find out more about this book you can go back and watch the live show that we filmed on Saturday for the welcome books. But for a book with an obscured face on the cover, or a partially obscured face, excuse me, I read The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. This is non-fiction. This is a look into Henrietta Lacks, whose cells were taken in the 50s, I think it was, and she was, 1951 she died. They took her cancer cells, and those cancer cells, named HeLa, have been used to do all sorts of wonderful things within medicine. And this just follows Henrietta's life, Henrietta's family's life, the cells, how the cells were taken, ethics, loads of different things. So go and check out our video if you want to know more about this, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. So the book I read for a book with under 500 ratings on Goodreads was Hole in the Middle by Kendra Fortmeyer. I love the look of this book. I really liked the sound of the premise of this. I heard about it on Maddie and B's channel, A Heart Full of Books. They had read a sampler and said how interesting it sounded and how the voice of the character sounded really good. She was a little bit snarky, a little bit, there was a little bit of sort of humour within there. The basic idea of this story is we're following a girl, and she's your average teenage girl, but she has a hole all the way through her middle, like an egg-shaped hole. It's a medical anomaly. They don't really know what's caused it. They don't really know what to do to fix it. And she's living her life, but she's very self-conscious of this. She keeps it hidden. No one knows about it. And we're following how a boy turns up who has like the opposite. He has an egg-shaped sort of protrusion in his body in exactly the same place as her hole, and we follow sort of medical side of it, and how this sort of comes out in the open and how it changes her life. This was okay. There was some good bits. I really struggled though because she's meant to be 17 and she's living on her own with her best friend, which just feels odd and not normal, and it's never addressed why she's living alone. I mean, her mother is some sort of fitness guru celebrity and so travels the world a lot, but I did feel like the author should have possibly raised the reasons why she was living on her own with her best friend, and why was her best friend allowed to live with her, and that just didn't feel right to me that it wasn't even addressed. And a real pet peeve of mine is when we don't have very present adults, or at least this adult sort of the suggestion that there is some parental involvement. You know, her mother seems very present in her life in the medical sense and in other sides and making these decisions, and yet we have no reasoning for why she lives on her own. So yeah, that really bugged me. And the whole story was just a little bit it just didn't quite fit for me. It was okay, it had some good ideas, but it got a little bit silly in places, and yeah, it was just pretty average really, so I ended up giving this one 3 stars. The next prompt was a book published by a small press, and so I picked up a book I was very kindly sent by the publisher, which was Broadcast by Liam Brown. This is a proof copy. I should have mentioned this in my TBR because a few people have mentioned how much they liked the sound of it. This comes out on the 15th of September, so if you like the sound of it from this review, you can pick it up very soon. It's published by a small publisher called Legend Press, who I believe publish about 30 books a year. This is quite a short story. It is under 200 pages, just under 200 pages, but I really enjoyed this. I think what I really love about shorter books that really manage to fit loads in is I just think they're so clever. The idea in this one, which I really liked, is it's following this sort of YouTube generation, which obviously being on BookTube is something that I'm aware of. I'm aware of certain things. We're following this sort of big YouTube star. He does lifestyle vlogs, and he sort of promotes a lot of different brands on his channel. He's very much your sort of Zoella type character. And he's got a lot of subscribers. He's got over 1 million subscribers. And we're finding out a little bit about him. And at the very beginning of the book, we're learning a bit about his like morning, how he like tweets and Instagrams his face and talks about things, and the sort of the profound things he puts in his comments for things. And he's on his way to a meeting with this sort of really big elusive mogul of a big technology company, and this technology company have produced these bands that people wear around their wrists where employers can check their productivity, and it's become almost like a status symbol to, you know, publish your stats on your bracelet, a bit like the Fitbit sort of idea, but for productivity at work. And he's going to meet him for a secret meeting. He doesn't know what it's about, and it transpires it's to do with this chip that can go in your brain that can then broadcast everything you're thinking and feeling and seeing in your head. So it's almost like YouTube without having to take the effort to put the camera on. So everything you're thinking and feeling is being projected onto this website that people can watch and follow, and then sort of follow everything to do with your life. And what we follow from then on in is the sort of pitfalls and the perks, and how this changes his life, and how it changes who he is, and how it changes how he feels about himself, and how you know, the repercussions of taking that sort of next step. And it's really good. There's some dark bits in there, there's some funny bits. It's a real sort of social commentary on this sort of YouTube generation, and you know, how easy it would be to take this step into something a bit darker. And I really enjoyed it. It doesn't quite wrap up as nicely as I like books to wrap up, but it certainly wrapped up well enough for me to say I really enjoyed it. I could have read more. I think that's a real good sign of a good book. I could have read more, but I thought this was a really good book, and I definitely recommend it. Because the ending didn't quite finish quite as I would have liked, it was a bit more sort of thought-provoking and open-ended than I tend to go for. I gave this one 4 stars, but it was a real solid 4 stars, and I read this in a day and I couldn't put it down, and I really enjoyed all the ideas that came out in this. So yeah, a really good one, 4 stars. The next book I'll have to put on the screen here, and that was The Banned Book. I was going to read In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, but I ended up reading then An Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. I'd heard about this quite a lot over the years on BookTube, people saying how good it was, and I really enjoyed this. It was quite a fast read. It's a YA story about a young boy who lives on a reservation. His name's Junior, or that's one of his names, and he lives on the reservation, or the res as he calls it. It's just following his life. He's a young man of 14. He's very intelligent, and he feels like his life is just going to be wasted. Like, he loves drawing cartoons, and we have pictures throughout the book of these cartoons which were really great and added sort of an extra dimension. But, you know, the schools, they don't really teach them much. They're not really bothered about the kids doing much. Everyone sort of just ends up as adults, either drunk or sort of not doing much with their lives. And he doesn't want to be like that. He wants to go to college. He wants to sort of travel. He wants to better himself. And so he ends up going to a predominantly white school, which is outside of the reservation, which is generally unheard of. And he's very much shunned and picked on because he decides to make this decision. His parents support him in it, but it's like 22 miles to get there. So it's, you know, difficult for him to get there. There's lots of different things going on. How he makes new friends, how his old friend feels about him leaving and doing this. And what I really loved about this, it was part autobiographical. It is sort of partly the story of our author, which I thought was really good and gave it an extra dimension and made it more of an own voices story. I really enjoyed this, really good read, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. So that concluded The Rogue. I also picked up one other book, which was my free choice, and it was a book I had from the library that I was really wanting to get to, and that is Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornall. This is another YA story, and it's the story of a young girl who suffers from OCD and agoraphobia. She can't leave the house. She's been like this for maybe 5 years. She's homeschooled by her mother, who works really hard to support them both. What I really appreciated about this, which I think sometimes we don't get, is often in YA books we have these young people that have got severe or you know, quite severe mental health problems, and by the end of the book they're sort of cured, or, you know, everything's better. And what I really liked about this is that it shows you sort of the struggles and the progress. And there were times, being someone that doesn't suffer from agoraphobia and doesn't suffer from OCD, there were times when I felt a bit angry and I struggled. I felt frustrated. I think that's the proper word. I felt frustrated. Like, I was thinking to myself, why can't you just do this? Like, you're self-sabotaging yourself. And I think that's really interesting how the author makes us do that, because I also had moments where I just felt terrible for this person and their struggle. And I think that's natural. And I think the important thing to remember is that, you know, if you haven't got these issues, you're probably not going to understand exactly how it feels and how hard it is, and you're not going to get why this person can't do something and what is going on in their head. But what the author does a really good job of is allowing us into this person's mind, allowing us to follow them in the daily struggle of their life, allowing us to see the things that she, you know, it's not like she wants to be like this, and yet her brain is just not letting her get past certain things. She wants a normal life. She's getting to that stage where she wants a relationship. She wants to meet someone. And I just thought it was really well done. I really enjoyed the male character in this. He was really well done, and a really good character. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. And there was a little instance at the end which sort of pushed her to sort of go out of her comfort zone a bit, and I really liked how that was done and how that tied in. And I liked the ending of this. I liked how it wasn't like, oh yes, and she's all better and now she can do whatever she wants. I enjoyed where they went with it and showing the progression, and yet there's still the struggles of what happens. This may sound all a bit waffly, but I just thought it was very well done. And for someone that has no experience of this, I thought it gave me a good insight into what it might be like for someone suffering with agoraphobia and OCD. And yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars. So that's it so far. Very excited to be moving on with the next challenge. Next, I will be doing The Night, and my TBR for that will be going up tomorrow. I'm going to be having a TBR for The Night, as well as a couple of side quests that I'm planning on doing. So yeah, let's see. It's possible. I mean, the potential is there that I could complete the whole board by the end of the challenge. It's slim, but the possibility's there, and now I'm sort of getting closer. I'm like, yeah, I really want to do this. So we'll see. But those are the books that I've read for the last challenge, and I look forward to chatting to you tomorrow about the books that I'll be reading for the challenge of the night. Bye for now, BookTube.